Good morning, my lovers. I think the lighting's okay. Anywho, random night. Yeah. Here we go. Virgo, I'm MJ. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm an intuitive reader. Been reading on the channel and for clients since 2019. And if you're feeling called to book a private reading, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, these are for fun entertainment, a way to get to know you, and a way to promote All to Love. I sell merchandise, a book I published a few years ago, and the online courses, which really are pillars of the way I certainly live my life, but, not radically or even austerely. I just think if we could be more conscious consumers, we could do a lot to change our lives and the world, actually. So, divine guidance and loving clarity, my lovers. Virgo. I res with the Virgo energy. I have a Virgo moon. And as I've continued to study and learn about astrology, wowzers, I can almost certainly spot that Virgo energy in people. Attention to detail, that is. So, Virgo, this is divine guidance and living clarity for the month of January. You know the way. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Feel free to comment if things resonate. I am getting a sense here with the Judgment card that there's like a decision, whether you make the decision, it's happening. A Fool reverse next to the Eight of Cups reverse is making me think of like fear of letting something go and resisting letting something go. It's burdensome. It's burdensome. It's like you have to let it go, but you're just not. Might be even something like looking after somebody. It could be to do with a work situation as well with the Ace of Pentacle there. The Judgment coming in makes me think like if you don't make a decision to either walk away from something or just release something, it's likely to be released for you. I kind of get a sense that there might have been a new beginning. There might have been an opportunity for a new beginning. It's not been taken, and so the Judgment's coming in. This is what divine guidance and loving clarity, and I would even almost interpret the way I read cards to be like evolutionary tarot. To interpret the cards in such a way that, again, we're getting some spiritual advice. There's no story that is some perfect story. There's no astrology chart. There's no human that's some perfect human. We're all just here with a bunch of challenge, endeavoring, I think anyway, to make the most of it. In this great mystery of life, you talk about near death experiences. They often say like we know more on a soul level than what we give ourselves credit to on the human experience level. I was pondering that earlier, thinking, why don't I know? Come on, soul. Tell me what's happening now, because I'm curious. Yeah, you can't fight it. Huh. These are more kind of cosmic energies, right? So the Judgment card, it's like energy coming in to stop you in your tracks. Stop. You're not doing that way anymore. It's too burdensome. It's probably emotionally draining for you as well. That's what I mean about making these changes, is that's these cycles of either in whether we incite the change or whether that change comes to us. I genuinely feel these cycles just happen throughout life. And ideally we become more aware of those cycles, and then we can choose accordingly each time that cycle comes back around, right? Especially when it's our own awareness, I want to say, like, especially when it's really you that you've been studying. I sometimes feel like we can fixate too much on, so and so did this and they're that, as in we're actually the ones feeling something or harboring something, but we're not talking about what we're feeling and harboring. We're just talking about this person that did this thing. So often as well, like, it's ungrounded. We haven't even necessarily spoken to that person, or Yeah, I got my hair done actually a few months ago, and I must say it's not been quite right since. Virgo. I apologize. I drifted off there. But Virgo, what basically the point is that these changes are coming for you, my lover, and you can fight it off. But I don't think it's really what's destined for you. I don't think it's what you really want, because the Chariot here, some of you guys might want to move. Some of you guys might actually want a really significant change, but with that sort of Virgo practicality, you're like, yeah, but I don't know how to make that change, or it's not felt right walking away from this situation. It's almost like you're meant to walk away from it. If you're meant to walk away from that situation, it's almost like when change is coming for you, you're like, no, I'm supposed to be here, but I really don't think you are, because the Judgment, the Chariot, is wanting to move you forward from a cycle that, again, has been emotionally draining and probably really energetically burdensome. You're just like over it. But again, maybe it's that familiarity is comfortable. So when the change is coming, you're like, no, this is me. This is what I do. This is how I work, or this is how it ought to be. But you're really, really it's like, because judgment is really coming up to a completion, a final decision to then complete a cycle and move into a new world, right? Because again, I'm looking at this Chariot. This Chariot energy is really supporting this reading, which to me usually means there is some spiritual reason, there's some soulful reason you're being guided through this challenge. A challenge is really almost like defending something that is maybe not that viable. Even maybe even working a business that you're just like, man, I'm just pouring and pouring and pouring and not receiving, and I took this huge leap, and I thought it would happen, and like trying to defend it. But it's burdensome for you. I would take the new beginning. And if you feel like if you feel like you missed out on some sort of new beginning, there's infinite opportunities in this lifetime, from that multidimensional quantum perspective. I'm getting this weird feeling of, there was a time, I was born in the 80s, and there was a time where it was like, choose your career, that's your career. You're going to do that for 25, or rather, no, say 50 years, 40 years, 50 years, and buy a house. And that was the kind of predetermined plan as such. And now I look at only 20 odd years later and go, wow, the collective has changed. People are leaving jobs. People are increasingly, like even 10 years ago when I set off to do the online entrepreneurial stuff, it's like, what? Now it's kind of commonplace that people make money on the internet, right? Whether they've got an astrology channel or a gaming channel, it's more normal. Like people's kids are being successful on TikTok and all that. That's like an option for people, where internet and phones didn't even exist when I was just a kid, which is not, in human lifetime terms, 40 years isn't really that long, let alone the exponential changes really happened in the last, 10, 20? Internet, and then phones, and then phones, and then all of it, exponential growth, really. So yeah, it might just be, Virgo, that you're a little bit locked in to like, this is how it should be. And I kind of just want to give you a gentle nudge or something, or a wee shake. I mean, you could resist, but the resistance is really only creating more exhaustion. There's this energy that wants to move you forward, but you could still resist it. You could be like, no, thank you. I don't want that. I just want to keep pouring into something that's not reaping any reward and just exhausting me. and change is here, but no thank you. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm almost like Ace of Pentacle. There's a new opportunity coming in, Virgo, and I'm like, please, Lord, for the love of all that is beautiful, take that new beginning. Take it. Because this is like just this, there is a 10, right? There's a 10 of Wands, and it is over. Like a situation, a way of working, maybe just taking on way too effing much, Virgo. It could be as simple as that. Like you set off on this new journey and you end up in the same cycle, just giving to situations that don't give back. And partly you're like, this isn't working, but I don't know if it's a pride or it could be energetic pride of like, but this is mine and I took this new beginning and I've been working on this and I know this works to a certain degree. But it's almost like there's a part of you just hasn't made the choice. So you're kind of teetering between worlds. You want to step into this new world, but you're also defending your old world. And I kind of want to say you're not going to be able to do both. Like, lay down the defenses, take a bit of time to rest, go on a trip, or Chariot, get away from the familiar. Yeah, right? Like open your mind for a couple of days, just a couple of weeks. But there's a lot of solitary energy here, Virgo. Virgo's often the hermit, but certainly there's one person in this Chariot. There's one person in all of these cards except for the Judgment, right? So so I kind of feel, because I saw that Two of Swords, I'm like, not making a decision is only creating probably a mental clutter, or even I want to say like a stuckness with the Eight of Swords. So yeah, not making a decision is possibly creating more anxiety for you, because this is a decision. It's like, do you want to do things how they've always been done, even though you know how tiring it is and it's kind of a drain and it's not necessarily what you thought initially. Do you want to defend that and keep going back to it? Or do you want to kind of release it all, be in that unknown? And I would dare say that's what you fear that the most, probably, in the situation, is making a decision and then not knowing, no, well, I'm not doing that anymore. It's like Virgo not having a service to provide. You're like, but again, this is really positive, and then there's likely to be messages, Son of Swords, or there's likely to be mental, and like, remember how we were like, not making a decision can actually make you feel more trapped. Even though you might think you're keeping options open, it might make you feel more trapped, more mentally sort of cluttered. Making a decision to release this thing or that way of being, releasing it and allowing yourself to just be in faith mode, Judgment, be in trust mode. Maybe do something for yourself in Chariot. And then there will be the new renewal energy. Where did these come from? Yeah. Virgo, this little cluster of cards that dropped out, I couldn't see exactly, but they're actually quite relevant in as far as like, this is overcoming almost like a battle within yourself, an energetic battle. Maybe it's something to do with how worthy you feel to have what you want in life. Maybe it's about overcoming addiction or codependent relationship. But I feel like this is even a sense of codependency in work, overworking, not receiving acknowledgement, or just taking on lots for other people and now never getting that sense of promotion or recognition in such a way, right? But this is an inner conflict within yourself that's allowing you to grow into maybe something more magnetic or someone more powerful, if even just inside yourself. Sometimes when we walk away from situations, as painful or as much fear as they might stir up, once we're in that walking away phase, wowzers, does it feel good, right? It's like there's liberation, there's a lightness. Soon after making the decision we feared to make, we realized why we had to make it. Because we couldn't have felt in that moment, that walking away moment where we start to feel lighter, we feel relieved. We didn't know. We didn't know that moment was coming, but we still had to face that fear to get to the other side and go, oh my God, I did it. And it was easier than I thought. I used to get really, really, really nervous about just quitting jobs. Even though, like, I knew defo I didn't want to do that thing, I'd get so freaking nervous to the point of thinking I couldn't do it, or I should just, like, stick at it. I always did walk away, but I guess, like, I can sit with these energies, but that's possibly why I talk about this stuff, because I wasn't somebody who was comfortable stagnating for very long. So I wasn't deep in my soul if I wasn't feeling this to be the thing. Especially once I started practicing yoga, like, this isn't it. This is not the thing, right? And if it wasn't a hell yes, it's no thank you. And there's a freedom here too, Virgs, with that horse card came up more recently, maybe in a private reading, but it's like a definitely an energy of movement, being adaptable, graceful, compassionate, relinquish control, Virgs. I would say this energy is super importante because it's been coming through in my own meditations and just like intuitive hits or insights around, like, illusion is pardon me, flip it. Control is an illusion. We can invoke it, right? Like, we can make it look real. I want to think of control forces. Even control forces in our world, they might appear, and, like, it's not nice, particularly, right, to use brute force. It's not, like, to me, that is not powerful, but that's control for you. Control in the highest form is actually brutality. Control on the highest level actually comes from a place of deep, deep lack, insecurity, fear, unworthiness. Because when you see what those forces of control do, I see it as, like, that reflection, like trying to annihilate or wipe out aspects of self, right? Do unto others, you would do them unto you, because we are one. So these acts of atrocity, there is cycles of healing and redemption that can be done for everything that has been done. But to me, it's not like any of us wish that on anybody. But witnessing it, those forces of control, it's to me, it's like that quote of the oppressor knows the oppressed, the oppressed knows the oppressor better than the oppressor knows himself. So even those of us witnessing those layers of brutality and control energy, we can also dig into our own kind of deeper, more expansive power, I guess, to understand the decades and or eons of, or ages of, this sort of grasping for true power, but the true power was never going to come through war and fighting and conflict on the external plane. Total sort of sidestep noodle. And it's to do with some of the conversation going on in the what up, Scott Tesla, with some of the conversation going on, and it made me wonder about so I'm thinking of, like, the current conflict that I'm sure a lot of you are aware of what I'm talking about. This might give you a hint. I am aware, I saw something that made me wonder about when was the concept conceived? interestingly, or not, because it all involves just such atrocious acts that it's quite gacky and troublesome on, from the human perspective, of course. But I wonder if that conception happened before some of the major world wars were broken out. As in, every single war. I could be probably maybe trying too hard to link certain dots, but I wonder, I'm curious whether the like seeds or plants in what we think are separate in context, they were all incited to brew the and lead us to, you could say, accept where we're at. And as far as that conflict goes, I don't, most of us, I think, that would resonate here just don't abide by war. It's just, that's not a way to solve conflict. And yet here we are, military war complex, like these, and the way so much of our consumerist drive feeds, that paradigm, and our kind of blind consumerism and planned obsolescence also feeds these certain enslavement, deeply enslaved patterns in different parts of the country, which then also enable them to be ruled by tyrannical dictators, but those tyrannical dictators all being funded by the same countries that are feeding that paradigm. And then I had this other icky thought about how then you think about a place like good old Hollywood, and how it's kind of, when you really think about Hollywood and the way that we retell stories, I just had this really sinking, icky thought of like the Netflix premiere of such and such, and how we've been able to churn out these monetizable, capitalizable Hollywood images to replay something that happened. Because by the other layer of my concern, am I possibly going on like a Virgo would? So like, what if that system, so my concern, or kind of like cray thought, was like, what if there is an energy in hello that incites or conceives of the stories they tell back to us, like they're not connected? Does that make sense? So you create a problem, shine light on it, then you tell a story about it in the Hollywood way, and are like, oh, look, but it's a movie, it's not real. So we all become dissociated by actual reality, which is a grand and probably grave concern, because it means none of us are actually here now. It makes everything a little bit more weird. Does that make sense? Hollywood equals propaganda, in my opinion. Yeah, but and do you recognize that loop? So it's almost like a loop of accept it. It's just a movie. And I've never been able to, but that's where a lot of us sensitive folk, whatever, might have been teased. When I didn't want to watch horror movies and war movies, and I'd often be the one kid crying at the war and violence, and people like one of my really best friends would always tease me and be like, Molly, oh my god, it's just a movie. And I'm like, yeah, but this is a movie about World War II. Like, this is a movie that's supposedly documenting events that happen to people. Pardon me for feeling pain around death and chaos, like. And again, most of us had grandparents and stuff who flew planes or worked or died in those same wars. And then the other little crafty bone to pick is which I alluded to in one of my messages, but there's these messages going around on the socials of like like these horrible things that are happening in certain parts of the world, and then like people from that part of the world or whomever is like, and the world just stood by and watched and nobody did anything, or nobody cared, and I'm like, that's sucks, because it's just not the truth. And I, at this point, I'm sort of surrendered to just being as open as I can to be in service to the highest good, obviously. It's been the whole intuitive plight ever since, but life is weird. And so it's like, be of service in the highest good, and then trust. This is not like any one singular person, I have the answers or anything like that. And yet, my deepest prayer would be that we come from a good heart, and that at some point in our human evolutionary story, we lay down the story of war as a means of resolving conflict. Because if you think about how old or how long lasting a colonialist, supremacist, like, thread has run through, I even think about things like, why did we only learn about the Holocaust when there's clearly wars and brutal wars happening all over everywhere? There was millions of people who were killed in Cambodia in like the 70s and 80s, like after World War II. There's been genocidal wars in parts of Africa, again, since World War II. There were wars before. We just kind of skimmed over it. And I don't know about you guys. I grew up, I'm sort of average Canadian woman, but I was born in the 80s. And I don't know about you, but when I look back at the sort of imprint of programming I got out of history, also, for the most part, in high school, history just focuses on a narrative, like a certain narrative. This is history. Don't ask questions. This is the history. And now I'm going, why that history? Why did you choose that? Why? Because that is the specific war that is sort of justifying. It's clever narrative weaving, right? And there's a cleverness with regards to the way the human psyche works. But that's where this whole spiritual awakening, fifth dimension, or paradigm shift energy is looking at, is that this isn't up to an individual. This has nothing to do with narrative. This is like the beingness of our beingness, the body of Christ, evolving to be more Christ-like. And I'm not like, I'm gonna do this, and be more Christ-like. No, it's every day of every moment, just choosing to love thy neighbor. And treat people as you would have them be treated. And that means being kind to, this whole like self-love. That means being kind to ourselves. It means endeavoring to hold space for that responsibility that we are in choosing a heart of love and choosing compassion rather than divisiveness, because the same acts of brutality and violence are come back in that shameful sense of redemption. Like some of those images, you just like, oh no, like as if how is this again, I think it shows us the clear power of manipulation tactics that come from many levels and means, and then of course our power for good, our power to believe in, I believe in a thing called love. Ooh. Scott Sessela, my friends. History is written by the victors. Well, indeed, and I think I'm coming up against some of these different quotes, right? Similar to like the Something about the oppressed, right? All right, I'm going to close her down. That was a thorough and lengthy little chat along with the reading for my Virgo lovers. Remember, okay, if I trace back and go back to your reading and I pull a card change of mind, and it just helpfully reminded me of like, you have a choice here, Virgo. And I know it might be frightening, but the cards are really saying trust the unknown and have the courage to let go of the past. You will feel more free. It might take a little bit of I'm in the unknown. Which might feel really destabilizing, but I think with the horse there and the Son of Swords upright, these cards are saying you letting this thing go, letting this way of working, letting this way of service orientation go, it's gonna open you up to being guided on like a higher level so that you feel more free, so that you feel more even like adaptable. And then remember there were two different, I'm pretty sure at least two. Yeah. There's reflective time, and then there were two Ace of Pentacles. So don't worry, new stuff's coming in, but you've got to create that vacuum to allow that stuff to come in. It's not going to come in whilst you're in the resistance of not wanting to let stuff go. Oh my God, this sometimes other readers will get this, but you just cannot make it up sometimes the way the cards will come through, because I get the dead end. Yeah. This cycle is over. I mean, you could really resist hard and just try to go back into it. But especially if you resonate with the channel, and certainly resonate with myself as a reader, that there's just, what was that card? It's a dead end, you guys. You're just gonna get burnt out or just drive yourself into burnout mode, perpetual. There's a dead end here. So honestly, you can go and have a lot of resistance, or you can just let go and step into the change. Because I think the quicker you step into that change, the better it's going to be for you, Virgo. All right, my lovers. There, that lighting is a little bit better, isn't it? Anyway, apologies. Well, no, actually, that's such a typical Virgo thing. Like, I'm so sorry. No, I am all okay, and so are you, and I appreciate all of you. Scott Setzela, what, my friend? I will keep you posted as the day goes on. I woke up in the night. My heating, I'm currently away, and my heating just didn't work, and I woke up and was like cold, and I couldn't get back to sleep because I was cold. And then I ended up I got my sweater, got my scarf, got my hat, and I snuggled back into bed like a troll, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep for like another, it would have been a while. It would have been like at least 3 or 4 hours. So I'm feeling a bit better. Anywho, my loves, I'll speak to you guys soon. And I love how I'm speaking to plural when it's clear I'm speaking to one person, but hey, Scott. I'll speak to you soon, my friend. Have a fantastic day. Oh, and happy January, my Virgo lovers. Happy New Year. I probably didn't say that. I waffled a lot, but you guys who hang out with me, you know that's the way it rolls here. So we're just gonna be myself. Have a great day, you guys. Lots of love. Speak soon. Bye.